Greetings class, my name is Evan Jenkins and today I will be discussing the impact of policy on self-driving cars. So the current policy is somewhat lacking in California. Self-driving cars are allowed on public roads and there really isn't too much in the form of regulation. Currently, over the past few years, there has been reported 111 car crashes in history with self-driving cars. And if there is no regulation put in place and we continue to operate as it stands currently, we are projected to see similar numbers of crashes again with self-driving cars. Currently, the budget for self-driving cars is really any fines a normal driver would incur. So if a car ends up speeding or is driving recklessly or goes through a red light, the driver of the vehicle, even if the car is in autonomous mode, which means self-driving, the driver will still be fined like a regular traffic ticket as if they are actually driving. Since the laws aren't fully defined yet and there isn't exact definition on if the driver will be at fault in the future or the car company or how that's going to work out. Policy number 2 I would suggest is banning self-driving cars. The policy is exactly what it states, just having self-driving cars be banned, not on the roads, at least on public roads anymore. The auto manufacturers that create self-driving cars can still continue to generate and produce cars for the public, just not allowing the autonomous mode that would therefore make them self-driving. We project then if we are fully able to do away with self-driving cars, then there would obviously be no more deaths because self-driving cars would be outlawed, and that would be able to solve that problem. The current budget we're looking at right now would be traffic tickets, just as if a speeding ticket or improper lane change or again going through red lights, driving unsafely. We're looking at about $1,000 a ticket if you're caught using a self-driving car in the self-driving autonomous mode instead of just driving the car as every other person should, where the driver is in full control and makes all decisions and doesn't allow the car to make those decisions. The other policy we'll be looking at is having a personal self-driving car lane. So the idea is to create a full lane on the freeways just for self-driving cars, much like how the HOV lanes work for carpools currently. And the outcome of this, hopefully in the next 5 or so years, will be a huge reduction in deaths of self-driving cars, due to the fact that the self-driving cars will only be permitted in the one lane and they will all be able to communicate with each other, so that way one isn't going too fast, they don't swerve and hit each other. And the reasoning for it taking a few years is because then we got to re-update the HOV lanes or add a new lane to the freeways to allow for self-driving cars and make sure they're safe and ready for the communication of these cars to be able to fit in, and then start getting the public to go over to those lanes that have the self-driving cars and get them accustomed to using that rather than just driving on any lane of the freeway. Currently, the budget, there are no fines for using this lane properly, but if people were to not use this lane and self-drive in the regular lanes, or as some people take advantage of carpool and only drive it by themselves without having an extra person in there, there would be fines for that if people were using the self-driving lane without having a vehicle that features that autonomous feature. And finally, the evaluation criteria. So we have the 3 policy options of leaving as is in the current state, the ban on self-driving cars, or having a lane specifically designated for self-driving cars. We'll be looking at 3 options such as the effectiveness of these, the political feasibility, and the administrative feasibility. So if we look at the effectiveness, currently there's already crashes and fatalities with self-driving cars, so that would have a low effectiveness. If we ban the self-driving cars, that would be extremely high, obviously, because then without self-driving cars, there wouldn't be any deaths caused by them. And the self-driving car lane would be moderate due to there's still a chance of accidents, but that chance would be decreased heavily. The political feasibility right now would be high for the as is, as of there's no federal laws against self-driving cars, and Congress isn't in much hurry, in my opinion, to start changing that. In addition, self-driving car ban would be low because so many car companies are starting to push for self-driving cars and people are actually getting into them. This wouldn't be a good idea politically. But the self-driving lane might be moderate. It still allows car manufacturers to generate self-driving cars and people can still use them and have their own lane to freely use that feature. The administrative feasibility, so currently as is high. There isn't really much in the way of fines or banning self-driving cars, so there isn't a lot of oversight that needs to be done. However, trying to ban all self-driving cars would be extremely difficult to maintain, as manufacturers still make them. If people pretend to be driving, even if the car is in autonomous mode, it's going to be really hard to detect if a person is driving like that or if the car is driving. It can be easily fooled. But self-driving car lane, it's pretty high to be able to mandate that. It's just like, again, I mentioned the carpool lane, making sure that people are using self-driving mode in that lane, and people that aren't having that mode on their car should not be in the lane, and ticket and fine people appropriately. Thank you for listening, and that is my presentation.